All right, what's up, Bulldogs? All right, we're doing things a little bit differently today. If you've noticed, I've opened up the live stream here for everybody in on the YouTube channel, so it's public. However, the only people who can jump on to video and ask questions are Bulldog Mindset members. I figured this would be a little bit of a better way to do things, just because we weren't getting very many viewership on the live streams from the members, and I wanted to make sure that we're getting the maximum amount of reach on this, and then it gives it so that other people can see kind of what the membership's like, and can and see if they want to join in and get their questions answered. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. Before we jump in here, to I did have a couple of questions that had come in from members that I wanted to address real quick, just before I bring you guys on. And so how this works basically is you should have gotten, if you're in the membership, you should have gotten a link to jump on the stream and ask your question. So I see you guys backstage queued up. I see Adam, Evan, Sean, Jack, Robbie, Tim, Bill, and Felipe, or Philip. So let me see here. Okay, so first one is a question from Guy. He says, what are your thoughts and experience with cold showers, Wim Hof method? So I really don't have very much experience with the cold showers stuff. I believe the Wim Hof stuff is useful, breathing techniques, and then he has been scientifically shown to be able to control things like his immune system, and has definitely pushed his body to the limits. However, the reason why I don't do cold showers is because it's just not worth it to me. when I go and do a run in the morning and exert myself to maximum exhaustion, I really don't feel like stepping into a cold shower after that. I want to actually relax and decompress and start restoring myself rather than than doing the cold shower. Now, again, I'm not opposed to cold shower therapy. I think that's a great thing. Anything that's a shock to your system, anything that you don't want to do, forcing yourself to do it. That's why I run, right? So I feel like I'm already accomplishing that. I don't need to make things more difficult, than that. At this time, I don't see a huge benefit in doing that, because I'd rather focus on the recovery. So. But again, it's something that I might experiment with and try. To me, it's just not been worth it. I push myself in other ways, and doing the cold shower, I'd rather do something that's more of a physical exhaustion type of pain than the cold shower. But yeah, a lot of people have used it. Uzair says Wim Hof is great breathing exercise. Really enjoyed it when I did it. So definitely something that I would look into. I haven't done the actual breathing exercises either. It's kind of like you have a list of so many things that you need to do, and which one of these best practices do you put into play. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. But yeah, if you guys have some experience with it, feel free to share it in the chat. And then let's see. Elastic says, what are the best videos to watch or book summaries to read for these topics? And he said, also any related product recommendations. One, getting your life organized and beating procrastination, getting more done. So the first thing I'd say about this is that book summaries, while they're useful, they're not, you should read the book and then read the book summary, right? Or read the book summary and then read the book. Don't use the book summary. A lot of people think they're smart, just skimming books or just getting the summaries of books. And I don't think that's very intelligent at all, right? Yes, you can get the main points from a book, but a book has a lot more, especially a well-written book, than just something that can be summarized. So again, I'm not against book summaries. I love book summaries, but I believe that the purpose of them is to read before reading a book, to sort of, set the landscape of what you're going to read, or afterwards. But as far as getting your life organized and being procrastination, getting more done, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield is one of my top recommendations. Eat the Frog by Brian Tracy is really, really good. If you haven't read, what is it? The Getting Things Done by David Allen. That's a really good system. My system that I have with my Kanban flow system was sort of inspired by that. And then yeah, I think that's I would put in there in the category Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza as well. And then Overcoming Fear and Limiting Beliefs, definitely Tony Robbins here, right? So Awaken the Giant Within. Let's see, what's it? Unleash your power, or I forget exactly what the other one is, but Awaken the Giant Within is really a good one. Tommy says Declare War on Yourself by Mark Summers. Okay, that's cool. I've never seen that. I haven't read that one. Never Split the Difference is an amazing book. Yeah, that's true. That is a really, really good book. Ivan says, yeah, people using Blinkist are missing out so much on life. I agree. That's definitely true. Not that I mean, I like Blinkist, but okay. And then Battling Insomnia. Why We Sleep is probably a good one there. I can't really think of other ones that I would say. And as far as videos, I'm not sure on those either. But if you guys have some recommendations in the chat, go ahead and put them in there. So okay, that is all the preview questions that I had. But let's go ahead and bring Adam on the stream. All right, Adam, what's up, man?
Hey, John, how's it going? I just want to get a quick question about tips about who you take your advice from, right?
Ah,
And so my question is, what is considered good advice? What is considered bad advice? Who to take your advice from? There's a lot of bad, as you said, financial advice. Like I love Dave Ramsey, but there's things I disagree with him about, not getting rid of your credit cards because you need credit cards to build credit score and get cash back. But
right.
there's also a lot of bad advice from the red pill community as well, and the mana spears or mana swamp.
Yep.
Um, but also if you listen to multiple people, you get more than one opinion, but you
Right.
also get more confused. So, and it makes it longer to make a decision on who to take your advice from. So, from your experience, how do you decide what is good advice and what is considered bad advice? Because that's a scale that a lot of us will have to deal with, especially when there's a lot of information. We're in the information era.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a couple of things here. So first of all, this is a great question. So here's what you need to do, right? When you take advice, you need to think about the advice that you're given, right? You need to suss it out and see what if it makes sense to you, right? So that's really going to be the best way, because there are people that are wise that sometimes give bad advice in certain areas. There's people that are idiots that have great advice, right? So you can't really judge. I mean, certainly you can look at someone and say, all right, if someone is successful, if they've accomplished what you want to accomplish, then their advice definitely is more likely to be good. But even then, you can't know, right? The best way to know if advice is good is does it pass the logic test? Does it make sense to you? Can you figure out, do you understand what they're saying and why they're saying it, right? So it's the explanation of that, right? So for example, let's take Dave Ramsey, right? Dave Ramsey has a lot of good financial advice. I disagree with a lot of things that he says, but there's a lot of things that he says that are good, and he helps a lot of people, right? He obviously knows what he's talking about. But let's take like the credit card advice there, right? Again, for some people, that might be good advice to say, cut up your credit cards, put them in a block of ice in your freezer, all those things, right? You have to, take it and filter that through your lens and say, okay, all right, so does this make sense for me? Right. So if you say, hey, I don't have a problem with spending on my credit cards and not paying, like I pay them off. If I'm able to pay them off every single month, and I'm never going to spend beyond what I can pay off, and I'm never paying interest on the credit cards, then I'm accruing airline miles and points, and I'm basically getting, a discount for using credit cards, and I'm increasing my credit score. So this advice doesn't make sense for me. Now, if you're someone who says, oh yeah, shoot, you're right, because every time that I have a credit card, that's a temptation, and that makes it so that I end up spending this money. And if I just didn't have this credit card, I would only be able to spend the money that I have in my pocket or in my bank account. And so it would save me from going into debt. Then that might be good advice for you, right? So it really depends on where you are, and then the filter that you put it through, and then just practically thinking it out, right? So many times we can test the advice, right? Any advice that I'm giving you guys, you should say why, John. Like, why do you believe this is true? Like, don't ever take anyone's word for it, right? No one's preaching the gospel here, and my word is not gospel. No one's word is gospel. Instead, look at it and examine it and say why, right? If someone, sometimes I go into doctor's office and they'll tell me something, right? And they'll say, "Oh yeah, I know whatever this," and I'll say, "Well, why do you think that?" Right? Like, why do you come up with this diagnosis? Like, what's your reasoning behind it? And some doctors will be like, "Oh, I've been to medical school. Like, just trust me, I know what I'm talking about. Like, you don't know more than me as a doctor." And I'm like, "All right, I'm out. Peace. Take care." Like, I'm not following any of their advice. I'm not listening to them at all. Right? Same thing with lawyers. Same thing with accountants. Right? I've had accountants that I fired where they're like, where I ask them a question about why we're doing things this way in taxes, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, look, I studied law for 20 years. I mean, taxes. I know what I'm doing. Trust me. You have to trust me on this one." And I'm like, "No, you're fired. That's it." Because you have to explain it. Like, if you can't tell me why, right, then it's not wisdom. Right. So that's the key, is like, always don't just take anyone's word for it. Figure out why. And you need to understand it. And when you understand it, then you're like, okay, this makes sense. Now it's still, you can still have a wrong understanding. Sometimes people can sell you on something, an idea, and it can make sense the way they logically lay it out. But then in reality, there's an alternate viewpoint, an opposing viewpoint that also makes sense. Okay. But if you can't make sense of it, that's a red flag, right? So that's the key thing, is make sure that you understand why are they saying it, right? And just about anything, that advice that I give you guys, I explain to you why, right? I don't just say, "Hey, real estate is the best investment," right? I say, "This is why." Because look at this. If you put 10% down on a property, right, and it goes up 4%, you get a 40% return on your money just like that, right? This is why. Does this make sense, right? And I want you to shoot holes in what I'm saying, right? I want you to say, "Oh, well, what about this? What about that?" So I can explain, because that then it holds water, right? If I'm just saying, "Trust me on this," it's bad advice. Make sense? All
Yeah, it
right.
makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Just oh, sorry, just to make sure quickly, if I don't know, this is my first time here, but am I allowed to ask a follow up question?
Let's in the interest of time, I mean, if you've got a quick follow-up one, yeah, go ahead, if it's related to this.
Okay, like what about like when you're taking advice from, say, a coach in any field?
Mhm.
Because sometimes you say, okay, you're questioning, why does this make sense? But does that lead to also being, for example, being that would be a problem with your coach? Like, because you want to obviously follow the coach's advice, but sometimes you realize, is this going? But you might question it, is that make sense to my situation? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, a good coach is going to explain to you why it makes sense to your situation, why they have chosen this thing for you to do, and why they're saying that you need to do this, right? So that's the key, is right. There's some bad coaches that don't, that are like, "Trust me," and that's not a good. No one ever should, no one should ever ask you to throw your logic out the window and just to trust them. That's ridiculous, right? You trust someone, so you listen to what they have to say and you reason it out, but they need to give you a reason for why you're doing what you're doing, right? So, like, for example, I've got a running coach. I understand why he's doing the training. Like, I asked him, "All right, well, why are we doing this way? Like, why are we doing these kind of runs? Why am I running this kind of mileage? What's and he understands the science behind it, and he tells me, "Okay, this is why we're doing this. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to increase your VO2 max." All right. And so I have to understand that, otherwise it's not good. All right, cool. All right. I just saw super chat coming from Podcast for Men. He said, "Just read the book called The King Within. He also wrote King, Warrior, Lover, Magician. Have you explored the four corners of the male psyche?" Yeah. I've looked at this, and I've read that book as well. It sort of transcends time. Like, there's, we're not going to have the time to go into super detail on this, but the King, Warrior, Lover, Magician, there's throughout history, there's all different sort of variations of this, right? From prophet, artist, hero, and prophet, artist, hero. I'm forgetting what the other one, mystic, or anyway. There's a lot of variations of this, but I'm actually reading a book called The Fourth Turning right now that talks about these cycles in history. It's actually generational cycles where certain generations exhibit one of these traits more than others, and it's a cycle that goes on. But it's also an internal cycle as well. We all have these components, and some of us really fall into one of these or the others. But yeah, I think this is a really interesting way of looking at things. Is looking at, your king. Are you bringing your king energy, your warrior, lover, magician, and sort of the balance of those as a man? I think that's a key thing, a masculinity, right? We talk about a lot of times wanting to be a king, right? And I think that's really the focus that we should have as men, is that sort of king energy. But you have that as your center point, but then there's still the warrior, right? The lover, the magician. All of those things need to really make up the full man. So I think it's really interesting, like looking at these are sort of the origin of this is Jungian psychology, right? So Carl Jung talked about these are sort of images, right, that transcend any particular human being. It's the universal mind, or the one mind, the universal unconsciousness that these things come from. We have these archetypes that are repeated throughout history, and that exist within all of us, that we recognize these things as humans. So it's really interesting when you delve into this. But yeah, if you're interested more about this, definitely check out Carl Jung's work, because he was really the one who sort of brought this to the surface. Joseph Campbell also speaks a lot about this in The Hero's Journey. So, all right, let's see here. Evan is next. What's up, Evan?
Hey, good morning, John.
How you doing?
Yeah, I was just thanks for doing the call. I just wanted to ask another question here in regards to this relationship type question. So I was just gonna see, like, with your coaching clients or with your guy friends or something like that, what criteria do you tell them to follow, like to know, like if they were looking for like a keeper or anything like that, or like something that was, like in regards to like just beyond a hookup, like do you have any like criteria that you tell them to follow or anything like that?
Yeah. So the biggest thing, most important thing, is the way that she treats you, right? Does she treat you like a king? Talking about the king energy. And what do I mean by a king? I mean that she treats you with reverence, like as someone to be respected, that she submits to your authority, right? And your leadership, okay, willingly, that she wants to have you lead her. Now, you obviously have to step up and be that man. You have to have clear boundaries, right? And you also have to be a kind of benevolent king as well, right? At the same time, otherwise that's not going to happen. No woman is going to submit to a man that she doesn't believe can lead her with love and respect. So but that's the thing that you're looking for, is how does she treat you? Because in the long run, the most important attribute is going to be that. Because how attractive a woman is, it's great. I mean, obviously you want to find a woman that you're attracted to, but ultimately, like, for most men in their mind, that will, I don't want to say fade necessarily, but it's like when you get a new car and you're really excited about the new car, and then it's not the new car anymore, right? So those things are not going to be the things that are going to affect the quality of your life as much as how she treats you. Because if you're looking for a long-term relationship, especially get married to a woman, how she treats you and what she thinks of you and how she respects you is going to be something that's going to affect your life every single day, right? And and you can kind of use that as a filter for everything else, right? Because you shouldn't get into a long-term relationship with a girl that has guy friends, that hangs around with guys, right? Now, here's the thing about that. If she treats you like a king and respects you, you probably aren't even going to have to say anything. Like, she's going to be like, oh yeah, it's not appropriate for me to hang out with these guys, or to text guys, or to have guy friends, right? That's like, it's just part of that, right? All the other kind of things, right? It's like, some guys are prescriptive. They're like, oh, don't go out with a girl that goes and goes out to nightclubs or goes and girls' nights. Well, if she's treating you like a king and she wants a relationship with you, she's not going to do any of that stuff, right? You don't even have to say it. Like, it's just a default, right? Because that's disrespectful behavior to a man, for her to go out on girls' night and hang out at clubs or bars or whatever, or any of that, anything that would in any way make you look bad, she's not going to do, because that's treating you like a king. So I think that, like, if you keep that mindset, then it answers all the other questions of what are the criteria. One thing I would say that I differ with a lot of guys on this is, don't worry about a woman's past so much, right? Now, take it into account, right? We're not idiots, but too many guys are like so focused, especially in the red pill space, about her body count and all this shit. Like, that's stupidity. It's dumb. Like, it's none of your business. It doesn't really matter, right? How is she now, right? Is she acting slutty now and, like, whatever? That's okay. If that's happening, then yeah, by all means, like, show her the door, right? But if she's treating you right, if she's loyal, she's faithful, if she's showing you that she wants to be with you and exclusively with you, right? If you're giving those signals, then it really doesn't matter what happened in the past. It's the same thing, even if we all have past, we all have grown. Like, what you're looking for is someone who's grown. And then the final piece of this is that you should be looking for someone who's continually growing themselves, right? So it's a huge red flag. And again, women are going to develop themselves differently than men, right? Don't look for another man, right? A lot of guys are like, hey, I'm looking for a girl that's working on her business and basically a boss babe. No, that's probably not actually even going to be good, right? I'm not saying that it would exclude a girl, but she should be working on herself, reading books, wanting to spiritually develop herself, emotionally develop herself, right? To improve herself in some way, right? She needs to have something that she's working on. And again, like I said, it looks different for men than women, right? The masculine energy is more about drive and ambition and accomplishing things and reaching the next level. But the feminine growth looks more like a lot of inner work, developing herself, becoming a more nurturing, caring person, becoming more feminine, caring about those things, caring about other people. Those are really, really important pieces. That help?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, John.
Yeah. All right, let me see here. We have Jack. What's up, Jack?
Hey, not much. How you doing, John?
I am doing good.
Fantastic. So I'm just going to read my email to you again, since you said that we would talk about it here. So I said, I've accidentally adopted the victim mindset again over this past weekend, forgetting to guard my mind against negative thoughts and emotions. There are of betrayal of friendships from within and after school, and the victim mindset here is obvious. Instead of, I didn't put up boundaries at that age, and I am not putting them up now against these resurfacing feelings. I'm saying they rejected me and I felt like I was wronged in a lot of ways. I don't understand why all this rejection hurts me now by close friends, or being different and being rejected by society, as I am a godly man, independent and self-sufficient. I don't want the validation of those less intelligent than me, and yet I also do subconsciously. Perhaps there's nothing logical about it, and it is just simply emotional trauma from my early teens that is still here. But with the context out of the way, here's the question. Is there anything specific you can give me on regaining the Bulldog mindset and changing my perspective on things that you haven't already mentioned in one of your videos yet?
Yeah, that's interesting. So here's what I would say about that. I mean, I think that I'll tell you a little bit of a story here. So have you played with that AI app that's been spreading around, Lensa? It's it like does all these character images of you, like in different artwork. Like, it's kind of
tried it yet, but I've heard about it. Yeah.
it, right. Okay. So I did that and I saw it and I was like, damn, these are cool. Like, it looked like a space warrior and, like, like all this, like these cool pictures of me, right? And I was like, this is a useful tool, right? Because when I looked at some of the pictures, I was like, man, I like, it almost inspired me. It almost like, some people are saying, oh yeah, this is like some kind of vanity app or something like that. In fact, let me show you. Let me see if I can bring it up. I'll pull it up on screen and you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. And let's see here. Okay, so let me just share my screen. Okay. So like I did a few of them. These are some of the ones that I posted up, which I thought were.
You
Oh wait a
look like Jesus in that one.
minute. Yeah. But I thought these were kind of cool, right? And it was like, and so like they're not exactly me, but they're based off of my image, right? And so, like each one of these though, I was looking at these and it's like it sort of captures an element of my psyche, right?
Yeah.
And my identity. And so I thought these were really useful, not the way that people were thinking to use these things, but it's like when I look at this picture, I see myself differently. Like, because I can see
Yeah.
myself here, but I see myself differently, right? And so maybe I need to like see myself with this kind of cosmic, like enlightened self, right? That's what the kind of the impression I get is like I'm like when I look at this, I'm like I'm wise and like I'm part of the universe and I am above
Yeah.
like the petty things, right? Maybe I look at this one and I'm like I'm determined, like I'm the bulldog mindset. I have my objective and mission in life. And look at this one, and I'm like, I'm Fabio. No, just I'm like, no. It gets a different feel of this, right? Like this is like, and so I think you need some. It doesn't have to be these pictures, right? But I'm using this as an example of you need something that inspires you to who the fuck you are, right? Right. I was listening to David Goggins' new book. Was it I'm Not Finished Yet or something? And he was talking about like he's got this alter ego called Goggins, and Goggins is a tough motherfucker, and you don't want to fuck with Goggins because Goggins will eat your lunch. It's like he's like, and then he goes into Goggins mode when he's on some of these runs and shit, and so it's like you kind of have to create this identity for yourself, maybe like a shrine for yourself. Maybe it's posters that you create or slogans or things like that, or pictures of yourself or medals of things you've done, and you got to remind yourself who the fuck you are. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the key. And so sometimes these images, like I said, I'm going to use these images because I feel like that's something that reminds me of who I am. When I look at this image, I get a certain sense of myself, right? That holds me to that standard, right? And so that's the thing, is you have to keep on coming back to that, because sometimes even when I'm out on a run, right, I got to be like, I want to give up on the run, and I'm like, no, your bulldog mindset, man. Like fuck, like this is what you do. Like I like the pain, I want the pain. This is my identity, right? I have to remind myself of those things. So I think that's really the best way to get yourself out of that victim mindset, is not to say, oh, not beat yourself up more and be like, I shouldn't be a victim, I shouldn't be thinking like this, like, what to lose. Like you're just putting yourself more into it. Instead you say, look, this is who I am. Like this is what I've done, this is who I am, this is what I represent, and and focus on that. And if you focus on that, then automatically the thoughts and feelings will follow that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Good.
Yeah, cool. I won't say this here, but I sent an email a little while ago, and I said that I noticed a bit of a flaw in your philosophy about never doing anything out of obligation.
Okay.
So I'll just let you know that I'll make a short video and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, no,
Point.
I'm definitely curious to hear about that. Yeah. All right.
Okay, cool. Cheers.
Jack. Ravi.
Hey, John. Good. I just wanted to ask, I've been having this tough decision, I guess, regarding these hiring freezes, and I was like, I guess maybe going back to school. So the problem with going back to school is like I would do another master's if need be, in like data science or something. But if I want to do that, I have to decide, I guess like February or whenever, because a lot of these schools, they want you to apply many months in advance. So I can tell you that like I'm doing this data science boot camp, probably finish sometime in February. And then I have a job guarantee, so I have 6 months after that if I don't get a job following their methods of applying, I guess, and they'll give me my money back. But then I guess school would start in September, right? But then I guess the thing is like, when do you think these hiring freezes are going to end? And then like, do you think I should go back to school if they just won't end?
All right, here's what a couple things here. So I'm hearing a lot of ifs instead of a lot of whens. I want your ifs to change to when, right? Because you're like, oh, maybe if this works or maybe this, you got to make this shit happen, right? You got to say, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to make this happen. It doesn't matter if the hiring freezes stop or not. You're going to think of it this way, right? Are there jobs out there right now?
Yeah.
Right. There are hiring freezes, but there are jobs out there right now. So
Yeah.
some people are getting jobs. So why
Yeah.
aren't you one of them? You can be one of them, right? That's what I'm saying is that like you have to have this mentality, this mindset. Like there's no I'm going to go through this thing and then if I can't get a job, I'm going to get my money back. Like yeah, that may be the facts, but you got to be like, no, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to get this job. I'm going to make this happen. You've got to have that in your mind, right? You can't have these doubts, otherwise you're going to be 1 foot on the dock, 1 foot in the boat, right? You just got to be 100% both feet in the boat. We're rowing out to sea. The only way we survive is we get to land, right? That's what you got to start thinking in terms of. Now, as far as like just to answer the question, if I think that the hiring freezes are going to stop, I wasn't going to get into this. I mean, if we have some time, I'll get into this. But I don't know if you guys have seen Chat GTP. If you guys have played around with that, have you seen that? Let me just show you guys something that will scare the hell out of you real quick here. Because I think the hiring freezes. I think that it's not coming back. To be honest with you, and I think that we're all kind of in trouble here. Like the world's going to change very rapidly here. This is probably the most revolutionary technology I've ever seen in my life, and I don't think the world's going to look like it does right now. A year from now, I think it's going to be completely different. Okay, so this is AI that is extremely intelligent. Write a poem about a I don't know, watermelon who fell from a tree. Okay. So, I mean, this is kind of a silly example, but we'll just take a look at this real quick here. And it's better poetry than than you or I could write, probably, right? So, and it's original. Now, but what's really interesting is this is write a JavaScript program that draws triangles on the screen which grow and shrink and then spin around. Oh, this is interesting. Ooh, hold on. Did they alter this? Hold on. Right. Script. To find the. All right, let me see. Just do something simpler. Oh, wow. I think they just disabled this. Okay, I don't know why it didn't work for the JavaScript program, but you can do anything with this. And that's pretty simple, but let's try that. Okay, here we go. I don't know why it didn't work for the JavaScript program. That's kind of weird, but But this is pretty crazy. I mean, basically, like this AI is smart enough that you can ask it. It basically eliminates the need for programmers, at least at a low level, maybe at a higher level. But you know, you can tell it to modify the program. So I think that a lot of the tech layoffs are happening not because of the economy, but because of this. And can you guys see this? I guess it's kind of blurry, huh? Let me see if I can zoom in here so you can kind of see what it's doing. So it's basically making a program now that you can control with the keyboard to move a triangle around the screen. See, it's taking in the inputs here. But yeah. So where I'm going with this, and you know, play with this if you guys get a chance. It's insane. I mean, you can do a ridiculous amount of stuff with this. You can write entire. It like destroys college, and pretty much so many feel like it destroys lawyers as well. You can write legal contracts. You can do pretty much anything with this thing. But my point in saying that is not to totally scare you guys, but the world's going to change rapidly. I don't know what's going to happen with this, but yeah, I don't know if jobs are coming back. To be honest with you, like I don't see. I mean, if you think about this technology, right? I mean, I played around with it. I made it write a Pac-Man simulator, and then I modified the Pac-Man simulator just by telling it to modify it. You know, I had it create a web page for me that basically creates random stoic quotes that shows up on my Chrome browser every day. Like I've had to do all kinds of things here. Write scripts for me for YouTube videos. Yeah, like everything is going to change rapidly. I think what's going to happen is that the big skill is going to be learning how to ask questions to AI. I think that's what the future skill is going to be. So, yeah. So where am I going with this is basically like, I think that the tech layoffs have more to do with knowing that this technology is out there, and where it's at right now. If you can imagine, it's going to be improved very rapidly. And we're going to definitely get to the point where writing code is not something that programmers do, where maybe there's programmers or engineers that tell the computer what they want. More Imagineers than engineers, I think is where we're going. The same thing, you know, even, you know, this applies to image generation, art. All fields are sort of in danger of this right now. So yeah, so keep that in mind. But still, for the time being, right? I mean, I don't know how rapidly this is going to happen. It doesn't change the course. Like what I said about committing and making sure that like you're committed to getting the job, I think is really important. But keep this in mind as well, is that no one's job is safe anymore at this point.
Okay, so just a mentality thing then?
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
All right, Ravi. All right, what's up, Bill?
Hey, John, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, just really quickly about that stuff we just talked about. Yeah, there's an AI for writing unit tests that I've been using, so it's pretty good actually. It's better than I am. It's already starting, so I'm using it. So why not?
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm looking at like every single thing that I'm doing now. I'm like, how can I use AI with this? Right, everything from thinking about topics for YouTube videos to helping write the outlines, the scripts, and anything. You know, answering emails, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, really quickly, just a quick question based what we just talked about. What do you think is going to happen this coming year with the economy? I keep hearing a lot of doom and gloom going on. And what we should do to prepare. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I think we're in a situation where what we're seeing now is finally the fallout from COVID, right? Because if you think about it, the economy should have collapsed when COVID hit, but it didn't. Why didn't it collapse? Because the governments around the world propped up the economy in order to kick the can down the road, right? Mostly by printing money, giving handouts. It's the same thing. Like they printed money. So what the effects from that, like when you increase monetary supply, what ends up happening is that it is a second order effect of inflation, but it takes a while before the wind brings the ashes across the ocean, basically. So that's what we're seeing now, is that we saw inflation increase really, really high. Now, the only way to fight inflation is to increase interest rates, right? Overnight bank lending rates, which affect the other interest rates, right? Which effectively restricts the monetary supply, right? And doing that tanks the economy, right? Because it makes it so that it's very hard to acquire debt, to expand, to grow. Combined with inflation, where now salaries have to increase, and prices haven't necessarily increased on everything as far as of products that are sold, and profit margins haven't increased. It squeezes companies. So I think that we're going to see a lot more bad things happen in the economy in the next year. Now, I don't know for sure, right? There is the one saving grace that we have is that everybody in the world's in this situation, and the US is actually, the dollar is actually strong right now, right? And the reason why the dollar is strong, even though it shouldn't be strong, is because it's strong relatively to relative to other currencies where they bailed out their citizens even more than the U.S. did, right? So, and also the dollar is the world reserve currency currently, right? So we kind of got a free buy on that. Like, while everyone else suffered more from inflation, the U.S. dollar did not as much. So, so all that to say, like, what's going to happen in terms of, I think companies are going to continue to lay off people. I think that we're going to be I mean, what you see right now with AI, it's going to be accelerated, right? I mean, this technology eliminates, probably in the next 10 years, 70% of jobs as they exist right now, right? That's how crazy this is. I mean, and even labor jobs start to get eliminated by AI, because robotics plus AI equals labor, right? So I think we end up in a really weird place, and I think that a lot of those jobs aren't coming back, right? Because it's the same thing what happened, where the acceleration of, and it almost feels like this is planned, because with COVID, accelerated remote working and Zoom and all of these kind of technologies, remote technologies that are being utilized now, right? It accelerated that. With this downturn in the economy and a bunch of layoffs and less workforce, but having to do the same amount of work with less workforce, I think it's going to accelerate the AI revolution rapidly, right? And I think that's part of the plan. So what can you do to protect yourself? The best thing you can do to protect yourself right now is to have alternate sources of income, right? So if you think about this, right, in a world where labor is not valuable, what is valuable, right? Owning stuff, right? Owning a business, right? So for everyone that if you're working a regular job right now, you should be scared, because you got to really ask yourself, what can AI take over my job, right? And for those of you that think that it can't, let me tell you, like, go ahead and use the chat GTP and see if it can do your job, because it probably can do your job, right? I mean, it can do the job of programmers, it can do the job of lawyers, of accountants, right? I mean, think about it. Like, if you're in the accounting business, if you're a CPA, you should be really scared, right? Because that AI can take in the entire U.S. tax code and then answer any kind of question perfectly with it, right? And all of the case study, all the prior precedent, all the legal cases, it can ingest all of that information and then answer a kind of question. It can basically do anything that you can do, but better, right? I mean, and I'm saying this as as someone who's a programmer, knowing that it can write code better, right? It doesn't make mistakes. So where I'm getting at with this whole thing is that if you if you have a regular job, you're in trouble, right? If you have a business, you're in trouble, but not as much in trouble, right? You've got time, right? Because you're still providing products and services that, like, you're not dependent on someone else, right? So I think that's a good place to be. And if you own real estate, you're in the best position. Why? Because real estate cannot be automated by AI. It cannot. The value of real estate and the income that real estate produces is going to go up in time, if you think about it, right? Because if we live in an economy where there's less jobs and a very highly unemployed workforce, having assets that work for you is extremely, extremely valuable, right? So owning companies, owning assets, owning real estate is key. So, and what I would say for you guys listening too is if you are interested, if you're working a regular job right now, if you don't have real estate, talk to me. You can send me an email or I can put a link in for to book a call. But I think, yeah, okay. I think Uzair put it in there, but I have a well that never runs dry financial freedom program where this is what we do, right? Help you build a business, help you invest in real estate so that you don't have to worry about these things. But yeah, but I don't think that things are going to be good. I mean, it's weird though, because I don't want to be like all gloom and doom. I think there's some huge opportunities here, right? Especially if you can learn
into AI ourselves, if we can.
Should you get into AI?
Should we get into AI, like into that space? Working?
I don't think getting into the AI, I think it's too late to get into the AI space itself, right? I think these AI systems are pretty well developed, and I don't think there's much more that needs to be done in terms of that. But what you should get into is utilizing AI. How can you use AI, right? Right now, if you want to become a millionaire, the fastest way you're going to become a millionaire is you're going to figure out how to use this AI that's available right now in order to create something that you're going to be able to 1,000 times your effort. Leverage. It's leverage, right? So I'll give you a good example, right? If you go to the App Store, the Apple App Store, those pictures that I showed before of me, those were generated by an app called Lensa. Okay, Lensa is the top app in the App Store. Okay, in order to generate those images, I think it cost me $11 or something like that. Okay, millions of people are doing that. Okay, they're making over $1 million a day from that app. I think it's 4 people that own that company, that work in that company, period. I think it's 4 people making over $1 million a day from that. That's leverage like we've never seen before, right? So if you can take advantage of it, you can figure out how to build a business around using the AI technology, that's gold. And then take the money you're making and put it into real estate. Why? Because real estate is a safe haven, right? Because it nothing is going to disrupt the value. Like, real estate will always be valuable. In fact, it'll become more and more valuable as these other things become less valuable. So that's my thoughts on it. But I think there's a lot of opportunity. It's just you got to be, you don't want to miss this wave for sure.
All right, thanks, John.
Yeah. Utsav.
Oh, hey. I'd just like to share my screen.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, can you see?
Let me see. Let me bring your screen up. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just going through the chat AI. Yeah, even I'm an embedded systems engineer, and I was like, oh, I feel defeated now.
Exactly, right?
So it's like it's even getting the registers down to registers level. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy. I mean, I keep on envisioning, I'm like, look, it's going to be like this. This is what software developers, again, Imagineers is what I'm going to call them, you're going to sit at a computer, right? You're going to use voice activation. You're going to say, okay, create a program that does this. Okay, modify this class. Let's have it so that we interface with this class. Whatever it is. Let's make a new database field to store the whatever. Like, I think you're just going to give commands and you're just going to say that. You're going to craft the program out of your thoughts.
Oh yeah, it even takes frameworks and like APIs from frameworks. So,
yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, what I wanted to ask you was actually a situation I'm kind of confused about. So it's a situation where, say, like, I've got two things I thought I could do, but yeah, if I talk to you, maybe there's more things I could do. So I was like thinking, like, taking more money from another job to invest more in myself, but it comes with a consequence. So it makes me rethink whether I should pursue the business idea I had. And I'll also give you a context. Like right now, I'm actually on a visa in a foreign country where I can only work in New Zealand, and I can't work anywhere else. Yeah. So there's two things I thought of. So situation number 8, say like the top companies I can work at in this country are Apple and Fish and Paykel as an embedded systems engineer, and they pay pretty well. But it's really competitive. I've got a few connections there, but yeah, they told me about the interview process, and it's not common to like keep failing before you actually get in. But if the low chance that if I stay in this current field, current company, or like other companies that don't pay as high, like I'll have less money to invest in myself, and I'll still reach a 6-figure income, but it won't be as high as I can show you. Like just paying in New Zealand, you pay at least like $40,000 in taxes if you're like 139, and that's only at Apple and Fisher Paykel getting that kind of income. But I'll still have information regarding my idea, and I can keep working my business idea. Just that I'll have to wait a long time before I can invest in things like, for example, I thought of just getting the your Well That Never Runs Dry program if I reach a high 6-figure income. And situation B is that banks will actually pay the highest. The job's absolutely chill. I won't be learning much technically from what I heard from my friends, but I'll be out of the embedded systems industry, and it won't be synergist anymore regarding my business idea. So, but the income's really high. Like reaching this kind of income's like really easy, and I'll be doing less work for more money. And it stays at 6-figure even after taxes, as you can see. So, but yeah, then it makes me think. Then, what would you do in this situation? Are there like more ideas you have in this situation? Like, say, for example, like if you need that more money, but then you'll have to ditch that business idea. Or does it make sense to actually still keep working on that business idea? It won't be synergist to the field anymore.
So last week I would have told you option A. This week I will tell you option B. Right? I think that the banking industry is one that is less disrupted by AI right now. Eventually it but I think that is still going to be a lot more hands-on for now. But I think that, again, I'm not trying to preach total gloom and doom, but if you had to choose what I would say is, if you can get more money and you can work less, and then you can spend all that time working on building a business, that's better. Even if it's in an unrelated field, right? Because if you try to get into one of these technology companies, it's going to be hard. Like you said, it's going to be harder now, right? Especially with the way the economy is and layoffs with all these companies, and you're going to be working really hard. It'll be hard to build up a business. But if you can do, if you can make good money and you have more time, then you can focus on building up the side business, even though it's not synergistic with the work that you're doing at your job. I still think that's a better choice.
Okay. So, another thing is, like, I'm not actually an expert in the field. Like, I literally only have 2-3 years of work experience, but
yeah,
it'll be like, okay, so you're not against people actually like working on something that's completely like unrelated to like the software industry then, even though like they'll be completely out of that industry. So,
I mean, it's preferable if that's what you're going to be teaching about or creating a business based on, but it's not absolutely necessary. And like I said, in this case, I think it's a good diversification play, right? Like I said, I think last week I would have had a different answer before I saw this crazy AI technology. Now, I'm still trying to figure out where do we land here, but take it from me. Like, I've been telling people to go to a coding boot camp and get a job as a software developer so they can make 6 figures. And I've been beating that drum for a long time. I'm going to stop beating that drum now because I don't think that's a good drum to beat anymore. Right? Like that's how, again, that I think that this changes everything. So, the skills of learning, how to write code just became irrelevant. Like how to design systems became more important, right? But how to write code just became something that that's any that an 11-year-old can do, right? So so that's why I would say, like, diversify, go into the banking industry, make more money, work less hours, and then build your side business in the technology field. To me, that makes the most sense right now, based on what just happened.
Right. That's good. Thank you so much,
This
John.
is not going to slow down, right? Like what we're seeing is not going to slow down. So
yeah.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, John, and yeah, catch you later.
All right. Let's see. All right, Diego. Oh, I think you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Great to see you, John. And by the way, the highlight video just went out like an hour ago. So.
All right. Nice. I'll have to watch it after this.
Yeah. I have a quick like a philosophical or stoic question. So, you talk about how non-attachment and divorcing the process from the results, right? But you also talk about like committing, like this must happen.
Right.
But then isn't that a form of attachment?
Yes, sort of. Okay, that's a great question. So there's this sort of this exists in a lot of areas, right? Especially in game, right? There's this idea of being like outcome independent, yet having a desired outcome, right? It's sort of this contradiction. But when you look at this closely, it's not really a contradiction, right? So this idea that you're outcome independent, it means essentially this: like when you commit all the way, you're committing to your actions, but you're not committing to the actual result, because you can't control the result, right? So you sort of have to have this mindset: I'm going to make this thing happen, right? But the way that you're what you're really committing to is your actions, right? And because again, it sort of comes down to, like, if you look at my framework for setting goals, right? Aspiration, goal, process, right? So most people, they set goals that are really what I call aspirations, right? So let's say I have a goal of I want to make $1 million this year. That's not a good goal. Why? Because I'm not in direct control of that. That's an aspiration. Now, let's say that I say, all right, on average, I'm selling some product, and if I get 100,000 YouTube videos, it equates to $10,000 worth of product that I sell. So then I say, okay, well, if I get 1 million YouTube videos every single month, then I can generate $100,000 a month, which will be $1 million. And then I say, how can I get 1 million YouTube videos per month? Well, if my average video does, let's say, 50,000 views, then I need to make 20 of those per month. And so if I make 20 videos per month, I'm pretty much going to hit the goal of hitting. So then what would I commit to? Process, right? I would commit to making 20 YouTube videos every single month. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I would commit to. But I'm still going to be outcome independent, because it doesn't matter what happens. I can only control what I control, because something could happen, right? I could make my 20 YouTube videos a month, and instead of getting 50,000 views per YouTube video, right, in this hypothetical situation, maybe something happens and YouTube's like, nah, you know what? We changed the algorithm on you, and you're not going to get as many views, and so I only start getting 10,000 views per month or per video instead, right? So then I'm screwed, but it's out of my control. I can't be invested or attached to that outcome. I can only say, well, I can do what I'm going to do, which is make these videos, right? A good example of this too is I'm training for a 100K race, right? A 62-mile race. And I have a coach, I have a training plan, right? I have my runs. I'm going to do my runs to the best of my ability. I'm committed 100%. I'm never going to miss a run. I'm going to put in my full effort on every single run. Now, when I get to race day, who knows what could happen, right? I mean, probably I'll be ready for that race and I'll probably complete that race, but it's out of my control ultimately. I can run the best race that I can. I can prepare the best that I can. But something, heck, on my first mile, I might pull my hamstring and I might not be able to run the rest, or I might roll my ankle and break my ankle, whatever happens, or it might be that just, whatever happened with the training, I'm not in the right shape, or I didn't get enough sleep or something, or I got sick, or anything could happen. Right. So I can't be, but I have to have the mental attitude of, I'm just going to do what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to do all my training, and then whatever happens. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter, right? Like, obviously I give a fuck to the degree, like, I have a desired outcome, but that desired outcome only exists in order to inform me of the process I need to follow in order to get the highest probability of getting that, right? But every single thing in life has a probability of outcome. There's nothing that is guaranteed, right? Except for death and taxes, right? So there's nothing that we can say that we guarantee that this is going to happen, right? There's always some probability, right? When you get on the airplane, right, and you fly somewhere, okay, there's a really good, you're probably not going to crash and die, right? But there's probably a 1 in a million chance that you're going to crash and die, right? I don't know, maybe it's not a 1 in a million. I don't know what the odds are, but it exists, right? It happens. Some person in this world has got on an airplane, thought they were just going to get to their destination, and they died. Okay, so it's not guaranteed, right? And sometimes when we get on the bad end of luck, we feel like shit always happens to us, and it shouldn't have happened. Like, for example, if you had a 1 in 1,000 chance of losing $100,000, or making $5 million, and you rolled a die, right? And you rolled 1,000, and you got to lose the 500, you'd be like, what the hell? There's like a 99.99% chance that I would succeed, yet I failed, right? That always exists, right? So that's why we can't be tied to the outcome, because we can't control the outcome. We can do a lot of things to decrease the probability of a bad outcome occurring to a degree, right? To the best of our ability. And that's what we have to commit to and do, right? So does that make sense? This is why it's not a contradiction.
Yeah, it makes more sense now. Like, I've watched all the previous videos you have made on this topic, but I still couldn't quite get it. But after those examples, I get more of it now. But I guess it still takes time. But like, for example, in the past, I usually fall into like these two opposite traps: either caring about the results too much and choking up my actions and ironically not getting the results, or care about the results too much, like after the actions, like the stoic archer trying to change the arrow's direction after shooting it. Or on the other hand, just telling myself that I already done my best, where in actuality, there's always something to be done. Like what you just said about like training for the 100K race, about showing up. But yeah, I've been consistent in the past, but like what Tim Grover says, showing up is none of the battle. Like I guess he's saying it more in the sports context, but it's also about your intensity when you are actually performing the actions. So yeah, it's just so hard to find that balance.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I think the key thing is remembering that, like, it is a couple things. Is one, you start from an aspiration, right? You come up with a goal, which is something that is in your direct control, okay, right? Something that you can do, right? So example is, so you're trying to lose weight, okay? You want to lose 50 pounds. That's not in your direct control. That's an aspiration. What's the goal? It could be something like, my goal is to eat less than 2,000 calories every single day for the next 3 months, and to run 4 times a week. Maybe that's that's a goal, right? That you can accomplish, right? And so now you can make a process from that and say, okay, well, here's what my process is. This is my meal plan. This is how I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. And you commit to the goal and the process. You commit to doing the thing that you said you're going to do. And that's where you put it all in. And that's where, and then the other aspect of this is that you need to have a retrospective So when things go wrong. So if you don't achieve your goal, there's a really good book by Annie Duke, professional poker player, called Thinking in Bets. Okay. And she talks about this idea that so much of life is some of it's probability, right? Some of it's luck and some of it's skill, and determining which is which and what percentage in different activities is very important. And so when you complete whatever you're trying to do, right? You accomplish your goal. Let's say that your goal is to lose 50 pounds. So for the next 3 months, you ate 2,000 calories, and you ran 4 times a week or whatever you planned out. Okay. At the end of that time period, you're going to say, all right, did I hit my goal or not? Right. Or you should hit your goal because that's in your control. If you didn't hit your goal, you failed, you fucked up, you didn't commit, you didn't do what you're supposed to do. Okay. Then you say, did I hit my aspiration? Did you actually lose the 50 pounds? Because if you hit your goal, you did what you're supposed to do, and you still didn't lose the 50 pounds. Now you need to say, okay, how can I change what I did? Like, I fell short, but before you even do that, you have to say what percentage of that was luck and what percentage of it was skill. Like what was something outside of my control, what was something inside of my control. Now for something like losing weight, a lot of it is going to be inside of your control, right? So that's but for something like poker, obviously, or business results, YouTube video results, a lot of that is out of your control, right? So then you got to say, okay, well, and this goes whether you succeed or not. Let's say you lose the 50 pounds. Okay. Did you get lucky? Right. Again, in that case, probably not. But in the other example, maybe yes. Right. Even if you win, you still got to say, did I win because of skill or did I win because of luck? Did I get lucky here? Right. And then you refine the process and you execute better. And you say, all right, how can I make the process better so that I'm more likely to hit the result that I want in the future, right? And you iterate that over time. So if we talk about making YouTube videos or whatever it is, or producing something, then it might be that you look at it and you say, okay, every time I do something, I look at it and I say, okay, how can I make this better, right? And you use that data to now create a new process that you're going to follow and commit to. And then and then there's this meta level process, which says that if I continually do something, get feedback from what I'm doing, make changes based on that feedback, I will improve. It's guaranteed, right? It's absolutely guaranteed. So that's like a meta level process that you're committing to, is the process of continuous improvement, right? And again, you can't control the results directly of that, but you know that if you follow this process of doing something, looking at the results of something, looking at how it was executed, how much was luck and how much was skill, and then taking that information and then feeding it back into the process to make it better, that you will eventually improve over time and that you will get higher probability of better results over time. Make sense?
Yeah, makes so much sense. Yeah, the more I'm in the self-development space, the more I find that so many of these ideas are connected together. Yeah, especially making these videos.
Yeah.
Right. And I tried out Chat GPT, and yeah, after watching the Entre Programmers episode, and I've got some ideas about using it and combining with these scripts to, for some future videos. So we can discuss that later.
Excellent. Yeah. Oh, by the way, real quick, I don't know if do you still have Danio doing the thumbnails?
Yeah, he some of the videos I didn't, because they were more rushed. Like,
Okay.
I just decided to make that video this week, so I didn't communicate with him. Yeah, so I'll definitely do those for future ones.
Okay, cool. All right. What's up, NJ?
Hey, how's it going, John?
Good.
So my question is, it's kind of related to what we were talking about a little bit. I'm trying to, because I'm in an internship right now, to get hired at this company. And to give background, it's kind of like I use a lot of Microsoft Office, a lot of Outlook, and a lot of like functions in Excel and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, and I'm not really sure. It seems like they're unsure if they want to hire me at the end of the internship. So, did you have any tips like to stand out, or was there anything you did when you maybe earlier in your career you were trying to get hired somewhere to get hired at that place?
I mean, right now, like if you're writing a lot of, you said macros and scripts and stuff for Excel.
So some of it is like like just doing basic like counting and using functions like what is it, VLOOKUP. I don't know if you know these, but
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
do. But stuff like that, and doing reports. So yeah, I don't know, but I don't know if like how much detail I want to go into.
No, the only reason why I'm saying that is like because you have a real huge opportunity here to stand out, right? So start figuring out how you can use AI to make that to do that job even better and faster, right? Because I guarantee you, it sounds like what you're doing, you can probably punch into Chat GTP and get the code written for you. And if you can do that, and other people don't know how to do that, it's gonna make you extremely valuable, right? The biggest thing though, in terms of an internship and getting hired, right, is that you need to demonstrate that you you will figure out proactively what needs to be done and figure out how to do it and get it done. That's the number one thing, right? If I have someone working for me and they're like, all right, I figure out what needs to be done. I proactively do it. Let me give you a good example, right? Uzair is our community manager, and he does emails for me and handles a lot of stuff, right? Like I'm just looking at the chat here, and I can see that he put this in the chat. If you want to join this live stream next week, it happens privately once a month for Bulldog Mindset members, plus 60 recordings, weekly lessons. Join for $1 trial. And he put this in here. Now, I didn't tell Uzair to put this in here, right? He knows to do this, right? He proactively that like he's an excellent employee. Like anyone would want to hire Uzair. Why? Because he figures out what needs to be done, and then he learns how to do it, and then he does it, right? So that's what you want to demonstrate. If you can demonstrate that ability, you're immediately hireable. Like that, it's the best hire that you can possibly make is someone who does that, right? Because you don't have to manage them. You don't have to worry about what they're doing. You don't have to constantly be like, oh, let me figure out what I need to tell this person to do, right? Because they're already doing it. They're already anticipating. They're like, okay, this needs to be done, and I'm doing it, right? And I don't know how to do it, but I'll figure it out, and then I'll get it done. Or if you tell them to do something, they're like, well, I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to figure it out, and then I'll get it done. Don't worry about it. I got it, right? That's if you can demonstrate that ability. This applies for all of you guys. That makes you the most valuable employee possible. That's the number one skill, right? That like if someone demonstrates that ability to me, they're hired because I know that whatever I'm paying them is going to be worth it because they're going to get shit done for me, right? So does that help? Oh, I think you're muted.
I think I was on mute.
There you go. Yeah.
So sorry, but I think you said be more individual, not try to ask too many questions, and kind of figure out by yourself. Maybe is what you're saying, and then get it done without having to be taught everything. I think that's what you're saying, basically.
Well, it doesn't mean you can't ask questions. Don't get me wrong. Asking questions is good when you don't know something. What I'm saying is that you figure out what needs to be done and proactively do it, right? Without being told, right? So, for example, I was just listening in David Goggins' book, right? Or maybe that's not the best example, but like, I don't know. Okay. Have you ever had like dinner guests or you go over someone's house for dinner or something like, and sometimes there's certain people that will come over for dinner, and then after dinner is done, they start clearing the table at your house and start putting the dishes in the dishwasher. Okay. They're proactively figuring out what needs to be done. Right. That's what I'm talking about. That kind of attitude of like, I'm not going to wait for someone to tell me to do it. I'm going to do it because it needs to be done because this is the right thing to do. You understand what I'm saying? Demonstrating that ability and the ability to figure out stuff that you don't know and learn it. That is the key. It's basically taking initiative if you think about it that way. Yeah.
Right. I don't know if I should want to say, but like, because they basically like something like somebody said, we're not sure if we're hiring people right now. There's something due to budgeting or something. So, I mean, and I'm doing what you said, but I mean, obviously I'm not trying to convince you. I have to convince them. So I have to come off as more convincing or persuasive when I do an interview at the end. So
yeah. And you can also say, look, I would lay it out. I'd be like, look, I really want this job. I really want to work here. I don't want to wait till the end to find out. Like, I want to do whatever it takes to get this job. So, what is it going to take? Like, what do I have to do in order to do this? I'm here, I'm willing, whatever it takes. You can trust me. I got it. Just tell me what it is. I feel like if you have that conversation, you're going to set yourself up for success, right? Even if they're like, we don't know. We're not even sure if we're hiring. It's like, okay, let's say that, then you can just be like, look, okay, so let's say you're not hiring. Fine. Let's pretend like if you were, what would I need to do? Like, what would your bar be? What kind of things I need to do? Like, don't even worry about that. I'm going to do it anyway, right? That's how, yeah. Uzair just said, show it, don't ask. Just do the work, bring it to them. Yeah, actually, that's
okay.
Even better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask something really quick. Do you still go recommend like 1 meal a day? Like for if you're still on a slim side, for me, would you recommend that?
I still think that it's good for a couple reasons. One, longevity and health. 2, discipline, and then 3, blood sugar control. I think it is beneficial to do it. I've been kind of doing a 2 meal where I'm breaking it and doing high protein around 2 o'clock, but either one I think is fine. But 1 meal a day definitely has, like, the extended fasting has huge benefits.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. I think that's all I was gonna ask. So thank you.
All right. Yep. All right, Arthur.
Hi, John.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
It's a really interesting session, Q&A session.
Yeah.
Mind blowing. Actually, I was had some question regarding the well that never runs dry program. I'm just curious, how does it work? Does it have like videos, Q&A sessions? Like how often?
Yeah. Okay.
What
So
type of?
yeah, so the Well That Never Runs Dry program, basically, the program is designed to teach you how to become financially free, to set out a plan to become financially free, and to lay out the roadmap so you know exactly how many years it's going to take you and exactly what you need to do, because that's what I feel like nobody was doing. So I've got a spreadsheet in there, a calculator that you can calculate and figure out, all right, this is exactly, based on my goal, figure out what your goal is. This is how many years it will take, and with realistic numbers where it's calculated on the returns, knowing where you're going to get to and how you're going to get there. Now, the way that we accomplish that is through, I have I don't even know how many hours of video, but a ton of content in there that is a course on the well. What is the well itself? Like the entire financial freedom, a course on how to build a business, and make money in 90 days, how to buy your first real estate property and real estate investing, on how to build courses, online courses, everything I know about that. And then we have a bunch of other things. It includes the full Bulldog Mindset membership as well, right? With all the weekly lessons, actually platinum membership. So there's a ton of stuff there. And then we do weekly group coaching calls. So every Monday, there's 2 group coaching calls. You can jump on and ask your questions, and and so I answer any kind of questions there. Basically, whatever it is from real estate business, productivity mindset. Oh, there's a productivity course in there too, as well. And then we have a group, a community where you can ask questions to other people, and we also have masterminds, so you can join masterminds of people, like smaller groups. So the whole idea is like, you get the framework of exactly how to become financially free. You get all the tools that you need in order to do it. And then you get the help along the way, so that if you get stuck at any point, you don't know what to do, you've got help from me, you've got help from the community, you've got help from the masterminds and groups and accountability along the way. So that's kind of what the program is. And then it's sort of like you can consume the course content at your own pace, however you want, but you've got the weekly group coaching calls to get you through any issues. So
in terms of business, is it applicable only for online courses and members, like creating a community?
No, I've got 3 paths that you can take on the business side. The first one is a content-based business, like Bulldog Mindset and Simple Programmer, where you create, let's say, YouTube videos or blog posts or website or whatever, and get content, and then email lists and sell a product. The second one is a direct outreach business. This is sort of like I think Uzair did a video in the Bulldog Mindset membership about this, about his sales process, where you're basically figuring out a way to get leads from LinkedIn, from different places, and then you're contacting those leads and getting on phone calls with them and selling them, right? You can immediately start making money with something like that, but it's a little bit more challenging. And the third way is a turnkey business, like buying a business that's already existing, which could be a physical business. It could be any kind of business. So.
Cool. Thank you. And just a quick question: do you think PMs, product managers, and quality engineers, QA engineers, will be affected by this change with OpenAI?
I think so. I mean, like, okay, if we look at QA, I already know that this AI can write. Well, I forget who was saying. I think it was Bill was saying unit tests, right? And it can probably write test plans out. It can probably, in fact, people are using it to find defects in code, right? In fact, and especially in contracts for Web3, like Solidity and stuff like that, they're literally just putting in the contract and then saying, what are the weaknesses of this code? So I think for that, for sure, for PM stuff, project management, I would anticipate that, like, I'm already thinking about, I wish I had access to the full version of this AI, because if it could take in all of my emails and all of my Trello board and look at all the stuff in my weekly plan and my calendar, it could manage the projects for me. It could know what the deadlines are, the dates. It could know who to talk to. It could send them emails. It could send me the data information and summaries. So I think that one, I don't think there's really any job that's truly safe from AI. I think a lot of jobs are going to be at first augmented by AI, and that's why it's so important skill for everyone to learn how to use AI to ask questions, so that it's like this super tool that you can use right now in order to make yourself better, right? So for example, if I'm a programmer right now and I'm looking at AI, I'm thinking, okay, how can I use AI instead of Stack Overflow, right? That's the simple sub out, because instead of asking the Stack Overflow, looking for an answer to my question on Stack Overflow, can I have the AI just generate the code for that thing? And then instead of me writing code like for little pieces of functions and stuff, can I just like define in my head what that function is and what it should do, and then basically dissect the code into, or the program into those pieces, and then ask AI, write this piece, write this piece, write this piece, and then I plug all the pieces together. That's how I would be using this right now, is in order to augment, because until people really figure out the full scope of things, you're going to have a huge advantage if you can figure out, how can I apply this to my job, right? If I'm a lawyer, I'm like, all right, let me have this AI generate a boilerplate contract, and then I'll go in and I'll tweak the pieces of it, or have it tweak the pieces of it, right? As opposed to, just being like, oh shit, my job is gone. Like that's not going to happen overnight. We're not going to just lose jobs overnight, but what's going to happen first is going to be augmented with AI.
I'm just curious how, like, unit tests, like, can it be used can be written with OpenAI or like different libraries?
Yeah, you can write unit tests with. I mean, if you put some code in, then you say write some unit tests for this code, it will do it.
So, yeah, thank you. Thanks so much.
Yep. All right, Robert. What's up, Robert?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah, so my two primary goals right now are to start my own location independent business and to start making some real money while maintaining my current job. I need to find a skill of mine that matches a niche need, something that's scalable. So what should I do to help find my niche business idea? I've been struggling with this one for some time now.
Okay. I mean, what I would do right now, well, let me give you, okay. The high level thing is, what are you good at, right? There's three circles. What are you good at? What do you like doing? What will people pay you for? And the intersection of those is where your ideas are, right?
Yep.
Now, again, on the theme of AI, I would go to ChatGTP and I would say, hey, I like doing these things. These are what my skill sets are. What are some profitable niches that I could do?
Okay.
And it'll probably give you some pretty good suggestions, right? Some really good suggestions, actually. And then from there, you can narrow it down, right? So I would use something like that. But I mean, essentially, like, if we're doing it the old-fashioned way, what we're doing is we're looking at primarily, where are you good at and what do you like doing, right? Because that's you know that's the sweet spot. The making money part of it, most things you can make money off of, so I'm not as worried about that.
Unfortunately, I think that lines up in my in one of those niches where it's hard to niche. Look, I'm a musician, so that's like where my passion, I think my passion and purpose lie.
Right.
But in terms of making money, I've kind of decided that that's not the best way for me to make money.
Yeah, you'd have to teach people something, right?
Mhm.
About an instrument or music theory or something. But again, there's a lot of people doing that, so you'd have to figure out a unique thing that you're teaching, like a sub niche in there. Like what kind of specific thing, right? Are you going to be able to teach people, right?
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see. So what's another? So you're talking about going to the AI machine, asking about profitable niches, things that are in my sweet spot, like that passionate. So maybe something music related, and I'd ask a question about that. Do you think would you recommend going to something that maybe I would like less, but that makes more money, or there's maybe I find a niche need because I'm also into some other industries.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but do not start a business with the sole goal of making money.
Okay.
I mean, you obviously want to make money in business. Obviously, the reason why you're starting a business is to help yourself make money. But if you have that as your focus, it's going to be really hard to be motivated and to take the hits, right? So if you have a problem that you're passionate about that you can solve for people or that you want to figure out how to solve for people, that's great. Do that, go into that. There's no problem with that. But if you're like, let me just find what would make me a lot of money, it's going to be really hard to do that. You could do that for a job. I think for a job, it's not a problem because you have accountability. You're forced to show up every day, right? It's like, you might hate your job, but you're getting a paycheck fine, right? But as an entrepreneur, when you have to motivate yourself, it's a totally different ballgame.
Right. Okay. I'm going to work on that and get back to you next month. Thanks, John.
All right. Yep. All right, Ivan, and then I think we might have time for one more.
Hello, how are you?
Yep. Good.
Excellent. I have a question which is not related to ChatGPT, so this is a bit of a different one.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the ChatGPT special. But yeah, my question is, how do you stop masturbating frequently? Because I have found that going to the gym works because I already get the body tired. But what happens is that the impulse gets built up slowly until I cannot sleep, like at the third day. And I need to wake up early for productivity reasons because I have a schedule stuff in the morning. But this impulse, I have found, it doesn't reverse. How do you kill the urge to masturbate so I can sleep? Because once the bolt is tightened, it so happens that it never loosens.
Yeah, I mean, I think that over time it does loosen, but it does take a time period. What I would say about this is that it's like, again, it comes down to more of an identity thing, right? Like, we talked about, if you've seen the video in the Bulldog Mindset membership about the rubber band theory, right? The idea is that like when you try to stop doing something, it's like holding a rubber band and you're pulling it back. And just like you said, it's like it becomes a point where it snaps back the other way, right? Like you can't, that's where we overindulge or we binge eat or whatever. And so in order to prevent that from happening is that we have to remember that our actions flow from our identity or from our nature, who we are, right? And so in order to change our actions, we have to change who we are. And so we have to change how we view ourselves. And so in order to change how you view yourself, well, how do you do that? Right? Identity is forged in two ways. It is what you brine in, basically your environment, and what you do, right? And so you have to change your environment and what you do, right? So how do you change your environment? Well, you control what you read, what you consume, what you see, right? If you're seeing TikTok videos, if you're seeing, whatever, and all kinds of stuff, it's going to be temptation. It's going to make you feel that way, right? If you're not, it's going to be less, right? And again, reading things about masculinity, about being tough, being a warrior, right? That type of thing, right? Having that environment is good. What you do, how do you change your identity in terms of what you do? right? You're doing it already. You're going to the gym, working out, like, you know, doing hardcore stuff that reinforces that identity of masculine. I don't have a weakness. I don't need to do this thing that I perceive as a weakness, right? So that's really the key to it. And as you change your nature, then the actions will flow from that. And so don't try and prevent yourself. Instead, try to seek a higher ideal, right? Because trying to hold back with willpower will be your downfall. Now, again, what am I saying about this? I'm saying that, like, some people are like very big proponents of NoFap. It's ridiculous. It doesn't give you any superpowers. It doesn't do anything magical. It's just, don't use something as a crutch, as a weakness, right? Like, the reason why porn and masturbation is bad, the main reason why, is because it is allowing you to short circuit the reward cycle that you should naturally be going after, right? So as a man, if you want to have sex, you should go find a woman and have sex with her, right? If you go to your computer and you find a woman and look at her and take care of it yourself, you are short circuiting that, which is that buildup that you should be feeling should be in spring you forward to go out and improve yourself so you can actually get laid in real life, right? That's really the key, right? So don't try and fight the impulse. Instead, call yourself to a higher ideal, right? Now, does that mean that you're going to just relapse totally? It doesn't mean that, but it also means that don't put so much emphasis on some ridiculous thing like NoFap or how long your streak is. None of that shit matters. What matters is, like, are you moving towards a higher ideal and version of yourself that you're not even going to feel the need to do this at all, right? That's
Yeah,
where we really want to get. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I am. Right now, I'm dedicating myself to two things. Right, I'm developing a business,
Yeah.
which is a mobile application. User knows about it. It's about a financial advisory application where you can get your best currency exchange possible. So I'm developing that application. I wanted to. I'm also developing myself in the gym. I really want to I should have. I mean, I think I would enjoy to have a six pack,
Yeah.
because right now I'm a melted down chocolate, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, but I'm not focusing on seduction or picking up women, anything. Just these two aspects of my life.
Yeah. Then just
So
you
my
got
hyper
to
ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So convert that energy into business, into these other pursuits, right? In Napoleon Hill's book, As a Man, or not As a Man, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about, and I think it's like the last chapter in the book, transmuting sexual energy. Have you read that?
No, but yeah, I have read As a Man Thinketh. Very good.
Yeah, As a Man Thinketh is good. Read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and the end. I think the last chapter is about sexual transmutation. You're transmuting sexual energy into your work, right? I think that will help you.
But in the practical sense, if I can't sleep at night, because it happens, I cannot sleep at night on the third day, should I stay up and work on the business instead and then sleep few hours and still
Yeah.
wake up early? I don't know.
I think that's fine. I think go with the flow, right? I think you can probably figure out ways to change that sleeping cycle, but for now, just go with the flow. Go and work on the business then, right?
All right. So instead of automatic, work on the business, get on the computer and continue coding or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Ivan. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question. Yeah. All right, guys, that is it. I gotta run to the next meeting here. If you're not part of the Bulldog Mindset Platinum group, you can join. We do have a call coming up in about an hour and a half. It's a group coaching call that we have for that. I just want to address something that Kevin Dietz said here real quick. He said, "I'm married. There's no reward cycle to aspire to." But there is. Like, if you're having problems with this and you're married, then you have to ask the question of, why are you in a situation where your wife does not give you sex whenever you want it? And that's a bold statement, but that should be the case. If that's not the case, what can you do to fix that? Okay, I don't have time to go into the details of that right now, but you should figure out how to solve that problem, because that's a key problem. I recommend a book called Masculine in Relationship by G.S. Youngblood, if you guys haven't read that book. But I gotta run now, so appreciate all you guys jumping on. And if you want to join the membership, the links are in the chat here. And if you want to join the Well That Never Runs Dry program, I think we put the link in there as well. So, or you can email me if you have trouble finding any of those links. Take care, guys.